Alright, so today we're going to be rebarreling a Tikka action. My friend Travis is going to be building a 35 Whelen AI, actually improved. In Iowa, they recently adopted straight wall rifle calibers, and the way the law is written, you can also shoot bottleneck cartridges so long as they're 35 caliber or larger and meet a certain energy requirement. Within those legalities, the 35 Whelen falls, and it makes for quite the step up from what used to be slug only as far as accuracy and things. So what I've got going on here, I've got the Short Action Customs Bravo barrel vise. I've got the 8.70 or 0.870 bushing in there for the Tikka barrel. I'm going to torque this down to 35 foot-pounds so that it holds the barrel nice and firm. We've got some drywall tape in here to protect the finish of the barrel from marring with the aluminum. And then we've got the Short Action Customs modular wrench with the number 5 head on it for a Tikka action. Other tools you'll need, I've got the 3/8 Allen key, a 5/8 socket for the end of the action wrench. I've got the Wheeler fat sticks here for torquing the barreled action back to the stock to the appropriate spec. And then I have a torque wrench here for torquing the barrel down to the appropriate spec. We may need to add some heat. Tikka actions are notoriously hard to take off. I think they Loctite the action to the barrel, so we might need a little bit of heat. The rifle's been in the vehicle overnight, and it's January in Iowa, so the barrel's nice and cool, so we may need to apply some heat. But without further ado, we'll get started. Alright, so we had to audible. We changed from the 0.870 bushing to the 0.12 bushing. I was kind of trying to clamp on the taper there, but we got a lot closer to the action. I think we got a nice snug fit. Again, torqued the barrel vise down to 35 foot-pounds. Should have adequate clamping force to hold this still as we go to remove the barrel. I'm going to use a breaker bar instead of the torque wrench for breaking this loose. Disclaimer, Short Action Customs does not warranty the modular wrench, because if you're taking off a factory action, because they know that they're very high torque, but I've seen it done. So we could need in excess of 200 foot-pounds to break this loose, but Short Action Customs only warranties up to, I believe it's 125 foot-pounds. But with that said, I'm going to add a little bit of heat here to the action around the circumference here for a little bit, and then we'll get to going with the action wrench. Alright, so we got a little heat applied. One thing to note, Tikka does cap their base screw holes that are tapped with a plastic plug, so you may want to pull that out before you apply heat. Don't want to melt that plastic into those threads and stuff and not be able to get it out, so you can't add your appropriate scope base. But without further ado, here we're going to apply some torque here and hopefully break this free. Is it? Alright, we'll apply more torque. So the barrel moved in the vise, so we're going to apply a little bit more torque to the vise screws to hopefully remedy that. Alright, so we upped it to 45 foot-pounds on the barrel vise. Now we'll give it some juice. It's still wanting to turn. So we're going to back this off. We might need a different bushing on the barrel itself to get more surface area contact. Alright, so what we ended up doing was, rather than switching bushings, we added a little bit more tape. I think we were bottoming out. The bushings were touching, and that's where we were getting more clamping force, was on the edge of the aluminum, not actually on the barrel itself. So we added a little bit more drywall tape to expand the diameter, because I didn't quite have a bushing that was right in the middle of where I wanted it to be. So we'll try it again here. Oh. Alright, so we swapped camera angle here so we can go down with our torque rather than trying to lift up. I can already tell I'm able to apply a lot more force to it. Well, it finally gave up. I had to get the big snap-on breaker bar out. It's about 2 feet, and I was about jumping on it. Kudos to the Short Action Custom modular wrench. It held up. I ended up having to go to the .870 bushing down on the barrel with quite a few wraps. It did slip in there, but we did finally crank it down enough that we were able to apply enough torque to break the action free, as you can see. So the next portion will be very, very easy, because we don't need to apply 300 foot-pounds of torque to anything. We just need to apply about 90 foot-pounds of torque. So we'll go ahead and spin off the action, get the other barrel in the vise, and we'll be back with you. Alright, so we got the new 35 Whelen AI barrel in the vise, torqued down to 35 foot-pounds. We're going to torque the action to 90 foot-pounds. Put a little grease on the threads. We'll go ahead and get this going here. We won't cut away for this part because it's not going to take a half an hour. Alright, battery died there on the camera, but we haven't done anything since, so just got the action wrench in there. Gonna change the torque setting on the wrench. Back to 0. There's 90. And as simple as that, The barrel is torqued to spec. We don't have the go no go gauges. Travis will go ahead and check those on his own, but you will want to make sure that the barrel is properly head spaced to make sure you don't have excessive head space and run into any issues with overpressuring or anything like that. So we'll go ahead and put this barreled action back in the stock, and we'll come back to you and give you one last little recap. Alright, so we got things wrapped up. Travis is going to have to relieve his stock a little bit. That barrel's a heavier contour than the 270 was that originally came with the rifle. Just kind of wanted to recap. So we used the short action Customs Bravo barrel vise coupled with the short action Customs modular action wrench and the number 5 modular portion of that is what we used. I'll give you a little close-up here of what the drywall tape and things look like after we had to tighten it down so much. So it kind of fused into the bushing on this side, and it did slip some, but after we got adequate slippage, it tightened back up again. The overall finish on the Tikka barrel actually fared very well, even though it did slip. I don't know if that would have been the case if it was Cerakoted or something like that, but with the finish that they use on those blued barrels, that seemed to be unaffected by it slipping inside of the barrel vise, but we torqued it down a good chunk and really kind of gave it the beans. We did, need the larger breaker bar on that. We did have one bigger breaker bar we could have went to that was a foot longer, but I didn't want to break anything, so if this one wasn't going to do the trick, I think we were going to opt for a maybe non-DIY approach. But we did get it, and that concludes this episode. If you got any questions, comments, anything like that, pop down into the comment section and I'll be sure to answer them. If you want to go and like and subscribe, we're going to be putting out some more content like this, gunsmithing, reloading, as well as hunting, all my hobbies, competitive shooting, maybe a little bit of golf, some cooking videos are coming up too, so stay tuned and we'll catch you guys on the next one.